Gabrielle Mills. Gabby, welcome to the Fortified Life podcast. Glad to have you today.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for letting me be here today.
Absolutely. Well, Gabrielle, we hear names in bios like founder and CEO and all of those sorts of things, and we know that you just didn't wake up and become that. There's a story
Lord knows
behind
that, but
becoming the leader of an organization. So, as an entrepreneur, a founder, a CEO, tell us a little bit about your professional journey.
I started I started Sourced, which is my business with my mom 10 years ago. I like to say that I was a corporate refugee, but really I wasn't in corporate long enough to really call myself a refugee. It's just something that people giggle at. Um, but I just felt a calling from the Lord early on in my career that I was meant to do entrepreneurship, and I thought that that was going to happen later in my life. And the cards all started aligning as they do. And I had an opportunity to leave my job and move into my mom's basement to start Sourced with her. And I faithfully took the leap. And really, this business has been blessed and anointed by God in so many ways. But um, the biggest impact that this business has had is really in my spiritual journey. I
Hmm.
was a product of public school and corporate life, and I believed what I was told, which was that your faith and your profession should not and cannot intertwine. Um,
Hmm.
and and now I don't believe that anymore because I've seen Christ all throughout our journey, and now it's a more joyful place to be knowing that it's all intertwined.
Very cool. Gabrielle, you mentioned starting the business with your mom. What is that like working with family?
So let me one up you here. So not only did I start the business with my mom, about 3 years in, I pulled in my sister. About 2 years
Mm.
after that, I pulled in my brother-in-law. And around that time, we pulled in my aunt. And in the last couple of years, I have served another one of my aunts and two uncles as clients. So
Mm.
I know very, very well what it's like working with family. And I get that question all the time. And in short, I love it. I do.
Mm.
I think that you can be very successful being in business with family if you have a healthy family dynamic.
Mm.
I think you can
It's
be
good.
successful in business with your friends if you have a healthy friend dynamic. Does it get tricky? Of course it does. All human relationships can get tricky. But at the end of the day, we put family first. We put our love with each other first. But on the flip side, nobody understands the commitment that I've made to this company and that we've all made to this company than the people who see the underbelly of it when we go home. And the
Mm.
real impact of it. So I have found that being in business with family has been an incredible blessing for me. Now, that being said, I do give so much credit to the husband and wife teams that are in business together. I think that's way harder than being in business with my mom and my sister, because we have different houses, we have different bank accounts. Like we don't have to like go and talk like at dinner at night. We can not answer the phone on the weekend if we want to. So like the husband and
Hmm.
wives really got the hard part of that. But it's been my experience that it's been really good for us.
Wow. Gabrielle, I was thinking you said something key. I didn't, the kids in the street these days would say, "Oh man, Gabrielle, that's a bar." He talked about having a healthy family dynamic, and that creates a healthy work environment. I wanted to call a timeout there for a second because if somebody's listening, that might have went over their head real quick. So I wanted to pause and see la and linger there because that is huge because you have employees that are family and clients that are family. So maybe just kind of hover there for a second. Because of healthy family, how does that create the employee family dynamic and then the customer family dynamic?
Sure. So like I said, when you have so everything in life can be drawn back to having a healthy relationship with yourself and having a
Mm,
healthy relationship with the people that are closest to you. If you have a healthy relationship with yourself and those people that are closest to you, anything that you're touching will thrive.
yeah.
Period. It's just the way that it works. And you and I both believe, and probably your listeners do too, that when you layer in your spirituality and your relationship with Christ on top of that, it's unstoppable. Right.
Mm,
Doesn't mean it's without hardship and without it being tricky, because this is earth. This is how it
hmm.
goes. So if you start there, if you have a healthy relationship, the most important thing that you can do for yourself and for those closest to you is to have respect. And if you
Mm,
have and you really honor the respect of everybody involved, that becomes the cornerstone of all the relationships. So whether they are an employee, whether they are a client, everybody agrees that at the end of the day, we're walking away from this having respected each other, that there might be differences of opinion, but the love and the respect is still there. And we're going to keep that um, as the cornerstone and underlying over everything. And
mm,
then it becomes about the details. And I'm not going to lie to you, the details can sometimes piss you off, and you may not
mm,
agree with them, or you may be like, they're crazy because I'm right and they're wrong, or whatever the
hmm.
situation is. Um, but again, it's not about them because you've already established that, like, no, the love is there.
Yeah.
I just don't agree with their tactics. And so when I'm talking about family and business too, I think it's important to also to note that when you do that, you have to have very clear lines.
Yeah.
So the sister that is currently employed in the business, and the brother-in-law who was employed for a period of time here, and the aunt, um, they felt they did not get any special treatment.
Mm,
They followed the same handbook, the same guidelines, the same everything as everybody else. And same with clients. Like for our employees, they followed everything the same as everybody else. But when our with our clients, we bend over backwards for our clients. So it's a do whatever needs to be done unless we cannot, and then we have to step away. One family member, we had a phenomenal relationship delivering some marketing materials for them. It's a huge
mm,
contract, and she was incredibly impressed, and it was an easy process, and she was needy in a way, but like she leveled us up, and like we really enjoyed that. And we did really well. And then for another family member, he was a difficult client, but just like any difficult client, we went above and beyond to try to please that person and to please the relationship up until the point where we had to have a tough conversation. But we didn't treat him any different than any other client that we would work with. And even if we did, we knew everybody, all the parties knew that we were walking away family first, friend first, respect first.
very cool. I love that. And that clearly, what I heard was roles, responsibilities, boundaries. That's
Boundaries
what
are
I heard.
extremely important. So, Jason, I have a whole keynote about this because I get asked about
Mm,
it a lot. And the framework that Chrissy and I built was a house. And
okay.
so the respect is the cornerstone of the house. And then you have the foundation, then you have the windows, then you have the roof. And we build all of these things with in order to build a healthy structure and a strong structure, all the things that mean to be maintained. Boundaries is one of those things. They're actually the walls.
Mm,
So there's a lot of ingredients to make this work, but at the end of the day, if you have a good relationship with somebody, these things come naturally. And if you have
mm.
the same shared values and the same destination, they will come naturally, and the rest is just details that can be worked out.
Mm, that's good. I want to come back to the speaking because that was a little nugget there. I wanted to highlight the power of just how God uses the business and sourced. So, Gabrielle, where did the name, the origin of Source come from? And people, you can see this on the website, multi-award winning back office solutions. So we've got back office solutions, Gabrielle, which people may be familiar with, okay, here's what I need, but then the name sourced, where did that come into play and how does that shape how you serve your clients?
I'm so glad you asked that because it's a story you don't get to tell very often. People are like, I love the name, and I love the name too, but I chuckle because it almost wasn't the name.
Mm.
So I was working. Oh, you know what? Here's a fun connection. That aunt that was a client of ours for a minute,
Hmm.
I actually used to work for her.
Ah.
Yeah, she in a big corporation, it just was happenstance. But I had put in my notice. I was quitting. And I went to this relative and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Here's the website. And our name was the Atlanta Assistance Group because at the time, our
Mm.
model was more VAs. And she was in branding. And just like she challenged me when she was a client, she challenged me back then to smart woman. I'm so glad that she pushes me in this way. She goes, I got to tell you, don't love the name. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's a great acronym. TAG, TAAG. Like, it's got legs and whatever. And she's like, no, I don't like it. This was 7 days before I was going to leave. And this was in the
Oh,
midst of me telling people that I was leaving to start my own business. So, like, you kind of had to have your stuff together or people were going to
yeah.
think you're crazy. Well, they thought I was crazy anyway. But so basically I had like a timeline of like, okay, I have 7 days to rename this company. It took me 4 months to come up with that name. It sucked, but it took me 4 months. And it was all I thought about for 4 days. Me and my mom, it was all we thought about. And I remember where I was when it came to me. Um, I was trying to do a play on words of outsource, resource, outsourced. And then I'm like, oh, well, like, okay, the outsourced resource. And then I just kept saying source. And I'm like, source, sourced. And then we added the period at the end to be like, this is the only place that you need to be. And so
Mm.
and then I brought it back to her and she's like, I love it. And I could not have been more grateful that she was honest with me. Because now it's the best name ever.
I love that. And I like the way you worked through it too, Gabrielle. Sometimes in business, I often think of Patrick Lencioni, the five dysfunctions of a team, and he talks about healthy conflict. And in this case, you had healthy conflict that pushed a better branding of a business name, all because somebody was emphatic. That also, by the way, cared. It's different to get feedback from someone and they don't have the proximity, they don't really know you, but someone that thoughtfully took a little time and said, "Yeah, Gabrielle, I don't like that." But because it matriculated through additional, like, you know what, and then source, and then boom, that's it. So I didn't want our audience to miss that piece. Like sometimes it's the healthy conflict that pushes a business to be better. So
I
I
think
love
that
that
healthy
story.
conflict is absolutely critical. I mean, I think
Yeah.
you should be having healthy, respectful conflict every day because it's through
Hmm.
friction, iron sharpens iron.
Hmm.
You don't get better unless you are under some kind of challenge or something that pushes
Hmm.
you to be better. I'm so glad you mentioned the five dysfunctions of a team because that's actually when I have done my talk on family dynamics and partnerships. People have told me they're like, yeah, it's just like this book. And I read the book and I'm like, yeah, it's just like it. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's all about, respect and having healthy conflict and having good communication. And I'm like, if you have all of these things, you can be in business with anybody you want to be.
Hmm. So, Gabrielle, we've got this big umbrella, back office solutions. There's a lot of things that a business needs, but what is kind of the sweet spot for
Mhm.
sourced
Mhm.
for the clientele that you have?
Yeah, so we have 5 divisions of our company.
Okay.
4 of them fall on the fractional services side. So these are for small to mid-market companies that don't need a full-time resource for one of the following things.
Hmm.
And the easiest way I can describe that is basically there's a box, name sourced, put an accounting firm in the box, put a marketing agency in the box, put an HR consulting company in the box. and VAs, virtual assistants. That's everything on the fractional side. So these are
Mm.
people that are doing a couple times a month, all the way to like part time or semi full time. And it's not typical virtual assistants like a Belay or an Office Angels. We
Hmm.
started with that model and it just didn't work for us. I love that it worked for them because we were not smart enough to figure that one out. We are truly a firm style. So when people come
Mm.
in and they're like, I need to get my books cleaned up, we are just like an accounting firm where we will get in there, we will fix it, we will do everything monthly for you. It's not, and it's a team approach. You have a manager,
Yeah.
you have an accountant, you have somebody that's doing quality control. Same with accounting. When we're doing social media for somebody, it's not just one person that we're giving. We have a designer, we have a copywriter, we have an account manager, we have someone doing quality control. So it's a firm style. So that's four of our services: accounting,
Hmm.
marketing, HR, and administrative support. And then the fifth thing that we do came by way of a client about 3 years in. He needed a full time person. He needed a project manager. He was a construction client. And
Got it.
we then started our talent acquisition arm, which is a little bit more like standard recruiting. We had
Hmm.
no experience in recruiting. We just took on that job, and we were like, how hard could this be? And without even thinking that like whole businesses are made about off of this, but we ended up building it our way, which is a little bit different than how the industry typically does it. But that side of the business serves people who do need a full-time need. So we have I
Mm.
don't need somebody full-time, but I still need a website. I need my marketing done. I need somebody to call for HR. I need all these things in the back office. And then we also can serve but I also need an engineer. I need a project manager. I need a
Mm.
paralegal. I need a something that we couldn't serve on the fractional side. That's what we do in talent acquisition.
That's awesome, Gabrielle. I'm getting excited just the way you described that. It's the business in a box with all those roles. Hey, you need these four things. And then, by the way, talent acquisition when you need it. Folks, I hope you're paying attention. We'll talk about where you can reach out and contact Gabrielle at the end, but I hope you're picking up what she's putting down. Because that's phenomenal, especially just the days we live in, the amount of support that businesses need. So, Gabrielle, you founded the business with your mom, lots of lessons learned along the way, and now you're stepping into the speaking aspect. Talk to me, because this is, and by the way, folks, I've known Gabrielle for a little bit, so I am cheating a little bit by knowing some of her journey. Gabrielle, what's been really cool is to watch you not just start and build a business, but now becoming even an ambassador and a thought leader. What was the beginnings of maybe how your heart was stirred to, you know what? I'm going to do the speaking thing. You've already mentioned a couple of topics too,
Mhm.
with boundaries, in the house and so just talk about the journey into speaking and when did you say, you know what? Yes, I'm going to do this.
Um, Thank you so much for asking me this question. I'm going to get real vulnerable with you
Mm,
on this one because I can't tell this story without being vulnerable. So, it was back in 2019. You actually met me this year, but you met me kind of in the throes of our worst year ever. It was really bad. I
mm,
still had optimism and I was hanging on, but because we met around the springtime,
mm-hmm.
by the end of that year, I was completely wore out. I mean, I
Uh,
was I was in the throes of depression. I had developed anxiety. I was trying not to quit. I mean, it was bad. And but nobody knew that. Nobody knew but my mom and my husband how bad it was. And we have a mutual connection that we were talking about before the call, and we both really loved this woman named Rachel Hollis.
mm,
She was really big at this time. She had written a book for women, and she is a women entrepreneur herself. And I stumbled across her audiobook, and I really resonated with her content. And Rachel was having a conference in Charleston, and so this mutual friend of ours invited me, and I was nervous to go because this mutual friend of ours was also a client of mine. And she's like, why don't you come and stay in this house and we go to this conference? I'm like, can you do that with a client? Like, is that appropriate? Um, And so we went, and I watched Rachel on stage. She was about my height, about my build, blonde hair, woman entrepreneur, and I felt this wash over me of just, this is what God has called me to do. That like it, and that's,
Mm,
I believe so strongly in representation, because I have been on the receiving end of that. I saw a woman who looked like me doing the things that I was trying so hard to do. And God used her to tell me, this is what I want you to do. I want you to teach women how to build and scale their businesses and to help them navigate what it is that you're going through right now. And so I came out of that conference completely charged, came back, mom, husband, I'm going to be a motivational speaker. I'm going to do all these things. And I tried, but I wasn't ready. I
mm,
needed to learn certain lessons. And for 6 years, I was like, just telling, I believe that you have to put it out in the world, what you want in the world,
mhm,
and like the opportunities will come back to you. So I would tell people, I want to speak, I want to speak, I don't want to write this book, I don't want to do the thing or whatever. And God was not bringing the opportunities to me, which is unusual because usually when you put it out in the world, things just happen. And so earlier this year, we are in 2025 right now. Um, we, I was talking to my mom and I'm like, mom, I've been saying this that I want to speak, and I'm wondering if maybe I misunderstood what God was trying to tell me. Because I really do want to do this, but it's just not, doesn't seem to be happening for me. And then I got the flu, and my mom went to a meeting that I usually never miss, but I had to miss because I had the flu. And there was a person there, Jeremy Anderson. He's a very well-known speaker. And she was like, "You have got to sign up for his program." And I'm like, I looked it up. It wasn't for me or whatever. But I did go to his conference, and that conference once again changed my life. And I
mm.
felt the Lord just go, "It's your time." And it's
Wow.
funny when I look back on my life, the big moments of my life, the best blessings have come after it's been the darkest. And in
Mm,
2019, it was the darkest. And then I got a glimpse of what God wanted for my life. And then earlier this year, it wasn't dark, but I was just like, okay, well, I guess it's not for me. Maybe I misunderstood. And then he
mhm.
put me in a place where he's like, no, now it's your time. And so this has all been God ordained, and this is all meant, it's just what he wants me to do with my life.
Wow. Gabrielle, I appreciate your vulnerability and transparency. There's something about sharing those times because that's often where the growth is. So I don't take that lightly. As we get ready to close, Gabrielle, a couple of things. One, Q4 of the year, people are winding things down in some cases, planning for the next year in others. What are you excited about in 2026? And then how can, by now, you've dropped wisdom, you've given nuggets. What's the best way for people to connect with you? So, what are you excited about for the future? And then, what's the best way for listeners to connect with
Ah,
you?
Jason, I'm always excited about the future. Like I love talking to people about it because I could nerd out on it. People are like, you need to slow down.
Hmm.
We made a really critical hire last week that is going
Mm,
to change the trajectory of this business. And I say that with all the weight that it sounds like. She is going to change the business, which is phenomenal. So I'm most excited to learn from her and to see what she does and how we scale. And I can't wait for that. God has put me on a path for speaking. I am very serious about it. I want to do it in a really big way. I have absolutely no idea how it's going to happen. So I'm just a faithful soldier of like, I'm just going to do whatever he leads me to do. So I'm interested to see how that goes. Um, and I would encourage people listening to not only, like, I don't want to say get serious about your future because that sounds like so condescending, but like when I look at my 2026, I try to spend some time in reflection and write down truly what I want for myself. And then I
mhm.
map out those big goals of how I'm going to achieve that through the year. And then I love doing a recap in December to see
Mm.
like, okay, how did I do? Did I forget one? Did I come halfway on another or whatever? So I'm excited to see what I was able to do. this year. And how do people get in contact with me? They can find me on all the social media channels at Gabrielle Mills Speaks.
I love it. And Gabrielle Mills does speak, ladies and gentlemen. So she's coming to a venue near you. I
Oh, your
guarantee
mouth to
it.
God's ears.
I guarantee it. Well, Gabrielle, I've thoroughly enjoyed our time together. We will definitely have to do this again. To see, folks, the next time she comes on, she'll be talking about, well, I was over here and I gave a talk on this. That's how the conversation will be
Yeah.
next time. So I'm gonna be very, very excited. Well, Gabrielle, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on the Fortified Life podcast. She, like the Avengers movies, folks, Gabrielle Mills will return to the Fortified Life. She'll be back. We'll work out calendar space and all of that as she continues dominating everywhere she goes.
You're so sweet, Jason.
Well, folks, that's all we have time for here on the Fortified Life podcast. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. FortifiedLifePodcast.com, JerichoForce.com/podcast. We will have all of the show notes. So don't you worry, you'll know exactly where to find Gabrielle. And we'll have the website so that you can get sourced for sure. Remember, don't compartmentalize your faith in the marketplace. And from the boardroom to the bathroom, God is with you. We'll see you next time on the Fortified Life podcast.